At long last, Toronto FC were back at BMO Field this week and celebrated their homecoming with a pair of victories over the Vancouver Whitecaps. My name is Mitchell Tierney. This is Waking the Red Weekly, presented by Footy Talks. Every Tuesday at noon here live on Zoom and Facebook. We talk all things Toronto FC, Canadian soccer, sometimes our Belgian vacations, depending upon how much coffee Jeff's had in a given week. Um, a little bit later on today's show, we will talk to Toronto FC and Canadian men's national team defender Adrian Cann. We'll talk to him about the soccer project he's putting together in Peterborough, as well as plenty more about the game in this province and this country. But first, Jeff, the bruised banana kit. Love to see it.
Love to see the Roma. That's last year's away with the lightning stripe / lightning sash. It's beautiful. I actually need to do a shout out because I think this is the third kit that I bought from Martin at Away Days, football.com, that I've worn on the show. So if you wanna support a really, really, really good venture and get yourself some official kits for a lot cheaper than the going rate, you need to give that guy a visit. There you go. There's my plug for the day.
There you go. Michael, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well, Mitch. TFC are vibing. Fonzie's doing well. Canada Soccer's doing well. I can't complain.
Yeah, absolutely. A great time to be a Canadian soccer fan right now. And let's start with Toronto FC. And I think Extra Time Radio posed this question the best of anyone I've heard. Are Toronto FC the best team in the Eastern Conference, or are they just playing Vancouver, boys?
Jeff, start that one off. I know you're itching to say something.
Look, I wanted to open with some stats, and we're 2 games away from tying the 2004-2005 Columbus Crew for the longest undefeated streak in MLS history at 19 games. We're right now in 5th place. And as you know, LAFC, as a consequence of getting shredded by the Galaxy in El Tráfico over the last week, they also bowed out of their attempt at the streak. So we're doing pretty good. We're also 1 point off of Columbus. We're at 15 points. They're at 16 for the Eastern Conference. We're both at 7 games played. But the interesting part is that we've got a 2.5 points per game versus Columbus's 2.29 points per game. And we're -4 in goal differential on them, which in a way circles back to your question, Mitch. It's Vancouver, and I think we can all agree that there's a pretty wide gulf in quality between the two sides. But we didn't finish a lot of our chances that second game. And in a tight race with Columbus at the top, I think that's got to be one of the takeaways. I flashed to Mullins missing that absolute sitter as one example. But listen, I like winning. A 1-0 result makes prediction league spreadsheet work real easy for me, so I can't complain. That's my one takeaway, is that I'm concerned about our finishing.
I agree with you there, Jeff, that the finishing wasn't pretty. And Josie still hasn't gotten off the mark, I believe, this season, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I think you're right.
I could be mistaken about that.
No, you're right, yeah.
Yeah. That's a little question mark there. The good news is that Ayo Akinola, he's back in training. We know what he can do. He can score goals, right? We're going to see maybe potentially a 1-2 punch up top with Josie and Ayo, when we do get healthy. So maybe that'll solve some of the issues. But just circling back to Mitch's original question, I kind of wrote about this earlier. TFC have a really rare opportunity here, and that is to walk away with 18 points near the start of the season, facing only Montreal and Vancouver, which is something that's just never happened before. And we know how important it is to get off an early start in Supporter Shield races, especially, when you think back to 2017, that was the only year that Toronto FC, obviously won the Supporter Shield. In comparison, like last year, they had a great season, but they got off to a slow start, and that sort of cost them. And also, some late leads that they gave up. I think it is, maybe it is TFC playing Vancouver and, eventually Montreal, but at the same time, they are really good. Come on. Like Jeff's already pointed out, the numbers are there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Never look a gift horse in the mouth, right? It could be an easy 18 points in a truncated season. playing against two teams. One, I think Montreal will be I mean, I know you guys all said that Vancouver is the team that you're most afraid to face off to in this infinite round robin. I think Montreal is going to bring something different.
Hold on. Can I take that back?
Yeah, me too. Me too as well.
Can I take that back,
please? No backsies, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that is the caveat, though, is that we haven't seen what Montreal looks like post MLS is back. There is some talent there, and if Thierry can put it together, they might be a difficult opponent, as Jeff has said. But if you're Marc Dos Santos, you have to be super frustrated with your Vancouver Whitecaps, because I thought they actually showed something both in the first two games of the season and even at MLS is back. I mean, they were a tough out for Kansas City. They were very good on the counterattack, which is why I thought they'd be a problem team for Toronto FC. Obviously, Jordi Reyna sitting out, I think, was absolutely key for Toronto in terms of that. But in those two games, Vancouver showed almost nothing. And if you're Marc Dos Santos, it feels like for the third time this season, you're back to square one. But you mentioned players scoring goals, and I did want to mention Pablo Piatti, because I think that's one of the big takeaways from this. He looked great, and I think continuing to fit well with Pozuelo and continuing to just add another element to the Toronto FC attack, which is exactly what he got brought in for. What are your thoughts on his performances over the two games, Michael?
Yeah, that was the best version of Pablo that we've got to see so far. In the first game, he lived up to his designated player tag, right? He's connecting well with not only Pozuelo, not only Aro, but really the rest of the team. It kind of seemed like they were sort of buying into what he was sort of offering. And one of the things I really noticed about Pablo was his willingness to trust his teammates. He is the new guy in a sort of way in this Toronto FC squad, but at the same time, like he's bought into that message, and he does come with this big kind of La Liga kind of, in a way, like sexy kind of name to him, but he's humble, man. He's humble, and he loves, for all accounts, he loves Toronto, and it's great to see that that's sort of translating on the field too.
Yeah, and Serge Gnabry liked his goal so much that he copied it like 2 days later. Yeah. I mean, watching who did he go to hug on the first goal? The acupuncture therapist. That was fantastic.
Cello, yeah.
Yeah. And just he, like, him and Paz just find each other for cellies, and they hug like they're two 6-year-olds on the pitch, just like discovering football for the first time, and it warms this sad, cynical heart. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Hey, both of those players are in the MLS Team of the Week.
Oh yeah, it's true.
It just can't be separated, man.
Yeah, indeed.
That's a good point. We actually have a question here from George, which is any indication of when Montreal began training post Florida versus TFC? I'm assuming when they got
came back. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty close to Toronto FC, when I think they both quarantined for 14 days. So I think it'd be pretty similar there. With that being said, I would much rather have played the games first, as Toronto FC did, versus training for another week or so as Montreal did. I think, especially at this point in the season,
especially with Montreal,
right,
because it's Montreal, and he needs to tinker with his lineups in a real game situation. I mean,
great point
an
extra
week, an extra month, it doesn't help Thierry Henry. This was really bad timing for him.
Yeah, exactly. I think these are potentially big games for Montreal, is not only an opportunity to pick up points against, again, a Vancouver side that don't look too great, but also an opportunity to, play a lot of games in short succession against Canadian opponents, not travel a lot, and, figure out their lineup. So,
yeah, that sucks for Montreal. They start 6 points behind without even kicking a ball yet.
Yeah,
right?
That's a good point too.
Yeah,
sucks
are awesome. I mean, that's
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Canadian Championship 2020, right? Let's go.
Yeah. I know why they sat on NYCFC at the Disney tournament, because someone can tell the future and realize what was coming for them. So, they were I mean, did you guys catch Marc Dos Santos on our sister show, Footy Talks Weekly? I thought he was really candid, and he echoed a lot of what you said. There's no continuity, He went to that tournament and they had an amazing showing, but they were missing a lot of their front line, top line attacking talent. And then to try and integrate them into the squad after the fact, he's had some problems. And they're going toe-to-toe with TFC. And it's not the homer in me saying this, but we're awesome. So, you know.
No, I think
Yeah.
we're getting that respect around the league, and that kind of started today when Toronto FC, they're the number one team in the MLS power rankings, kind of, you know, taking that spot away from LAFC, and that's coming up from that American-based MLS website. So shout out to the Reds for sure.
Yeah, if you go on the MLS mothership, it's basically a Canadian soccer newsletter right now with all the Fonzie posts and the TFC and in the top of the power rankings. It's pretty fantastic. Long may it continue.
Canada soccer's
Yeah,
no
absolutely.
wings.
Yeah, speaking of kind of going into our next topic, another Canadian soccer topic, and the standout player from the second game between Toronto FC and the Whitecaps, man, Richie Lorea. I think it feels like every week he gets better, and I think honestly his move to left back creates so many different things and I know it probably won't be long term with Toronto FC because you know you've got Justin Morrow there, but the ability to play on that left side, the one thing that struck me is from a Canadian men's national team standpoint, having Richie Lorea as a player who could either play in the left wing and interchange with Davies or at left back and interchange with Davies and cover him defensively, but also offer that offensive spark, that gets me very excited for what Canada could do in the future, because I think that's kind of a perfect player to have over there. Again, you see what Bayern does with who's it who plays on that side usually?
Ahead of Fonzie?
Yeah. Perisic.
Perisic or Coleman.
Yeah. So they step back for Davies, like to have that ability with Canada, and I think Richie's the perfect player to do it. That's one thing that's excited me. But Michael, what are your thoughts on Richie and you know continuing what he brings for Canada?
Yeah,
and of course Toronto FC.
I actually asked him about you know, his transition to left back after the match, and essentially what he said is just it's still a learning process for him. It's great to see, you know, him getting forward on the Toronto FC left side. We've seen Justin Morrow, who's been so good at it over the years, being able to go up and down the field. But I still think it's still kind of a learning process for him. It's great to see him be able to take such a variety of positions in stride and do such a manageable job. But has there been a left back yet that Toronto FC has thrown into this formation who hasn't really done what's asked of them? I kind of think it's sort of a safe spot on the field where, you know, putting a player like Richie Lorea does do a lot of justice to the position because he's so good at going forward. But is there really that much being asked of him defensively? I think it's a perfect setup for him right now in the Toronto FC system, and he's taking full advantage. So all the credit to Richie Lorea for being able to play left back. And it is another option that Greg Vanney can do and go to. And it's great for Canada soccer too, because maybe they can try and test him out there. I just don't know if he really is the long-term solution at left back there.
Now, I don't play soccer. So all that I've been reading about that talks about that switch, if you're an outside back and you're on the right and you get used to the field looking a certain way, that it's crazy difficult to actually make that switch because everything is happening in your blind spot, basically. And I found that fascinating. I mean, to me, I'm going to talk about Richie on TFC because I think you've covered all the bases with Richie and the national team setup, and it's hella exciting. I echo Michael's concerns, but how nice is it to have Richie and Nick Deleon on this squad? They are Swiss Army knives. They're unbelievable utility players. You can slot them pretty much anywhere, whether they're a starter or coming off the bench. And they're both very goal dangerous, to say nothing of their you know, how well they handled their defensive and off the ball responsibilities. I mean, is there a position that Nick Deleon can't play and impact a game? You know, I think we're sleeping on his skill and ability. Like he's a monster coming off the bench. It's fantastic to have him here.
You got a nice shout out from Josie Altidore after the match, after he scored his nice little finish from Pozuelo there when Pozuelo had that great behind, you know, wasn't even looking, a little flick on to Deleon who just slotted it far corner. It was a thing of beauty. But Josie tweeted about Deleon. I think George is saying this now.
Yeah, Leo McCoke,
Yeah, he's like a secret weapon, one of the most underrated players in MLS. Like, legit though, like Deleon is kind of slept on. And I'm glad that TFC, it helped with his banger against Atlanta, but he is getting some love from TFC fans, and I think his play is kind of justifying that, right?
Yeah, there was a tweet that MLS Mothership put out. The player most skilled, least amount of hype, and I put in Nick's name, and then a guy gave me a GIF of, oh, I peed my pants, and he was a DCU fan. So I'm wondering if that was him agreeing with me or him saying that my pick was absolute garbage, because he was a hero at DC United. They were sad to see him go, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going to err on the side of he was agreeing with me, not telling me I'm an idiot. Okay.
Yeah, he's
I always err on that side too.
No, I don't. I walk on the dark side of the street. Yeah.
Yeah, you use the term utility guys, which sometimes that can get a bad connotation in the sense that if you're a utility guy, you're not necessarily an expert in one position. But the thing about Deleon and Laryea is, they're starting caliber MLS players in all of those positions they can play, which makes it even more exciting. These aren't just guys who are being pigeonholed into bad positions. These are guys who are excelling in whatever position they're being played in. So, again, the flexibility of Toronto FC that continues to grow, it makes them exciting, and again, makes them, I think, one of the top teams, certainly in the Eastern Conference and in the league as well.
And circling back to that, sorry, just Mitch.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
Quickly is, Toronto FC's best starting 11 might not even include both Richie Lorea and Nick Deleon.
Yeah, I don't think it does.
As much love as we just gave to those guys, that's how good Toronto FC are. Is they have those guys plus their starting 11 on there. Like, it's a good problem to have.
It's a very good problem to have.
Yeah, and both have shown they can make an impact in short minutes, off the bench. Like, you give them 20, 30 minutes, and both of them, playoffs last year, this year, they both are impact guys. So
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely exciting stuff. I did want to touch quickly on signing this week for Toronto FC. Jordan Perruzza, an academy player, played for Toronto FC 2 last year, scored all of the goals. Rumors were that he was getting a ton of interest from a number of European leagues and clubs, and ends up signing with Toronto FC. I'm kind of mixed on this. One, I don't necessarily see where he plays right away, just because you've got Mullins there. Akinol is obviously a close second to the depth chart now. Josie Altidore. So it might be tough for him to get minutes this season, but this is a guy who I really do think could fit Toronto FC's system well. He's a smart runner. If you give him a good pass, he's scoring the chance. And I really like what Toronto FC is getting in Jordan Perruzza. So as much as, as a Canadian soccer fan, I always want to see guys getting minutes, and I always want to see them in an opportunity where they'll get those minutes. But at the same time, from a Toronto FC perspective, this is an exciting young player, and one that I've really liked everything that I've seen for him with both club and country so far.
Yeah, they had to bag one, right? That we lost Pellegrini. Is that his name, Pellegrino?
Yeah, Pellegrino.
Yeah. Yeah, we had to bag one, so I'm glad we at least got one or two, because they were both on their way out, I think.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit last week, and just what that meant to Toronto FC losing a player like Pellegrino. And then, being able – we talked about Jordan Perruzza as well, who was being linked to overseas, and Mitch kind of touched on. And it's a win for Toronto FC, because we know we've talked about Jordan Perruzza in our WTR chat for the past year and a half. And we know, about his ability to put the ball in the back of the net, and we know that there was interest overseas. So I'm as Mitch kind of said, where does he fit in? I'm kind of I'm questioning here, why did Perruzza decide to sign with Toronto FC? Just because we know what's in front of him? Is this kind of signaling, maybe the end of Josie Altidore era coming soon? Are we flipping the script? Where is that room going to be? Is Patrick Mullins going to be gone soon? I don't know. It's a question mark for me. But again, congrats to Jordan Perruzza. I do want to say that, great on him for signing that contract. He's a 19-year-old kid, and don't get me wrong, Jordan. If you do see it, it's great for you, and I wish you all the best. But if you do have interest overseas and to clubs that would potentially give you playing time, why not?
Well, there's the rub. I mean, how do you know you're going to get the playing time, right? Like,
You're not going to get playing time in Toronto.
no, that's true. That's true. Good point.
Yeah.
Very good point. Yep. Yep.
But
I
who
think
knows?
this is an exciting change of discussion too, and it feels like this is happening more and more now. Is like we see guys like Perutz signing, and like I don't know, 5-10 years ago, if we saw a 19-year-old striker signing with Toronto FC, we'd all be over the moon excited. You know, a Canadian kid. It's like this is awesome. This is huge for us. And now we're all about guys getting minutes, guys, national team relevancy.
Yep.
Like, no, I think this is a natural progression for soccer in this country. I think it's it's good that the discussion's taken that next step in the evolution and gone to this now, which
that's a great
think
point.
positive.
That's a really good point.
That's a really good point. And it's really just in the past maybe 2 years that we're seeing this kind of, come to fruition. Obviously the groundwork's been there, but it's really happening before our eyes. So as Mitch kind of touched on, this is huge. This is huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Adrian will be joining us in just a couple minutes here, but before we get him on, I think we have to very quickly talk about Alfonso Davies,
Who?
first Canadian international.
I thought we were talking about an app to find the latest soccer talent in the GTA.
Well, maybe that app will unearth the next Alfonso Davies based on 20-minute speeds or whatever it is. But
can you catch Pokemon with it? That's my question. Can I catch
Pokemon Go for footballers?
Yeah, exactly.
But this is obviously a huge moment for Canadian soccer, and I mean, it's just so exciting to see Alfonso Davies just continue to. Again, what I said on Twitter was this really makes it real for young soccer players, and I think Mark Dos Santos put it well when he said now they have a frame of reference. Not only can they dream that they can play in Champions League finals, they've seen someone from Canada do it. So I think that's so important for development of soccer in this country.
I do want to say Canadian men's. I know you're very well aware of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can get overlooked.
No, that's fair.
No, I did just want to.
3 times champion. Is
Yeah.
that good? I don't know.
Yeah,
probably
for sure.
a 4th this year too.
Exactly, with that Leon team. So just shout out her before we get started. But what a moment, man! I don't even know if it's hit me yet, but it's tough to put words into what that means. I in my lifetime, like I grew up playing soccer here in Canada. I know the ins and outs of it, but it has grown so much in the last 5 years alone. In my lifetime, I did not think I would see a Canadian men's international player hoist a Champions League trophy, especially one playing for Bayern Munich and one that's considered the best fullback in the world. It's, again, I'm at a loss for words just thinking about how special this really is. Yeah.
I mean, he's 19 years old, as evidenced by him losing his absolute mind with the Drake follow on Instagram. I'm trying to avoid the articles that are a little bit cynical about Fonzie. Like, well, now that he's done all this at 19, what's he going to do? He's going to do it again and again and again and again. I mean, that it just seems awfully clickbaity that less than a week off from this. This massive achievement, people are already starting to, try and contextualize it. You can't contextualize it. Enjoy the ride, there we go. But certainly take stock in just how unprecedented this is, and what a sea change it could mean. I mean, not just for kids that want to get into the sport, for people with money that want to invest in the sport in Canada. That can't be understated. This has opened eyes of people that hold the purse strings, and that's damned important. You gotta think, if you're a startup company and you want to invest in professional sports, are you going to go the hockey route in Toronto right now, considering that the Leafs are kind of in this limbo and the avenue of entry is that much higher? You're going to start seeing a lot more corporations, especially Canadian national or Canadian multinational corporations, get into soccer sponsorship, because the benefits to them in capturing that demographic, like Fonzie's captured, are huge.
The Fonzie effect it's going to be.
Yeah. We just named it the Fonzie effect.
The Fonzie. It's going to be generational.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I forgot what I was going to say, but it's
a tsunami. It's just a tsunami that will potentially change how the sport is viewed in this country from top to bottom.
Yeah, thanks for the same. I was going to
You're
talk a little
welcome.
bit about. I was going to talk a little about the business aspect of it. And
Okay.
you kind of touched on it. It's just not only like companies within our country, but we're going to start seeing teams scouting Canada
Mhm.
more so now. And
Can we talk about the app now?
but I think kind of just
Yeah, sure.
Hold
Sure.
on. I think just kind of let me just finish. I think kind of just
Yeah,
wrapping it
absolutely.
all together. It's just TFC is kind of going to be that mothership of Canadian prospects, should it not? And is that this now not the time where Toronto FC may look internally and may have to say, okay, are we going to start selling some of these homegrown signings? And I think that's going to be the next sort of shift that we start to see over the next maybe seasons, 2 seasons. Io Akinola, if he comes on, he scores, 10, 15 goals this year, adds another, 10, 15 goals next year. You're looking at a $10 million player easy, right? This is really the start of something,
Yeah. Speaking of starts of something, I mean, can you explain this app to me? At first, when I saw it this morning, I thought it helped you find soccer pitches for five-a-side pickup games. I had no idea what I was looking at. So it's like a digital thermometer to measure your kids' speeds, essentially.
Something like that, Jeff. So essentially, Toronto FC, if you guys didn't hear, Toronto FC announced today that they launched a new app, which is targeting kids who want to, grow up playing soccer in Canada. So for parents, they have to essentially measure their kids' speed, and it'll sort of measure that up to the Toronto FC Academy's player speeds. So there's 2 kind of tests that you can do on the app. It's a straight, I don't know how long the sprint is. It might be a 20-meter sprint or maybe a bit longer than that. And you just measure how fast your kid is. And there's also like a 200-meter shuttle. So that sort of builds on like the agility and, consistency. So just based off those 2 tests, I guess, Toronto FC is able to recognize that there's some sort of, athletic freak out there that could be the next, Toronto FC Academy player.
I have thoughts. I mean, one, I like that you mentioned 200-meter shuttle as if I had any clue what the hell you were talking about.
It's just it's a back and forth run,
Okay.
200 meters.
Oh, nice. So how that's different than a sprint? Because a sprint is just one way. Awesome.
Sprint, you're going one.
Learning. And how is this not going to result in the team getting sent 400 million DMs from like excited parents with speed test results aplenty, just waiting for their?
I think the idea is that the tests are going to get automatically uploaded to the Toronto FC kind of. Their Toronto FC is going to be seeing the test. So if your kid does have standout results, Toronto FC will see that. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of the app, and I don't know how their customer service department, I guess, let's call it, is going to work.
Yeah. You can say Eric, I think, is probably going to be
Yeah. Dang Eric G. But no, I think Toronto FC, they've always talked about how great their digital technology department is, and especially in these last couple of years, how much it's grown. And MLSC in general, they boast one of the best, if not the best, digital technology department in all of sports. So it's sort of their first step towards being the innovators in the digital technology space. It's probably not going to be perfect, but we'll see what comes of it.
Yeah, it happens all the time. I mean, you look at animation studios that create a new algorithm and then they end up marketing that as a standalone software or plugin. So you can see TFC porting this to the rest of MLS at profit if it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think Adrian is here, so we'll get him on in just a second. But certainly, as you guys said, an innovative way to kind of look at soccer in the region. But yeah, Adrian, how are you doing?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Sorry for the technical delay. I was trying to log on. And so how's everyone doing?
Great, Adrian. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the rare players who's played for Vancouver, Montreal, and Toronto. I don't think many Canadian players can say that, national team as well. But to kick things off, Adrian, here, we want to just talk about a project you're currently working on in Peterborough with Electric City Football Club, a team you're hoping to have play in League One Ontario. How'd you get involved with that project, and what is it about Peterborough that you think could make a successful soccer city?
Well, yeah, the way I got, involved in the project was organically. I was up in Peterborough showing off some real estate in the Peterborough Square, and I happened to come across Keaton Robbins just abruptly, on the street, and he mentioned the intentions of establishing a professional organization up in Peterborough, and I felt that, I think in Canada, especially now, we need these little market niches that could potentially find hidden talent, hidden gems that could surprise not, the nation, but, I guess the world. There's a lot of players that kind of fall through the cracks, especially with this day and age. It's difficult to assess players thoroughly enough for them to get their shot to, succeed and make professional soccer, a lifestyle or, a profession for them. So, but now, given, the likes of teams within the MLS and CPL and League One, they have those stages to develop and progress. So it's amazing to see.
Yeah, Keaton Robbins actually used to be a writer for our site as well. So I think we have a bit of a personal connection to this team, which is kind of cool. I want to get your thoughts on League One Ontario in general. A newer league, but what has it meant for both Ontario and the country as a whole to have, a development league like that?
Yeah, I think it's a good stepping stone. Like, it's a good segue into bigger leagues like the CPL and MLS. Something that it was in demand for a while now, especially with players that reach a certain age, like the ages of 15, 16. It's a difficult age, whether or not to pursue soccer as a career or university collegiate level. Or get into something else, and having these additional leagues help players follow their dreams and help them with their development. So I think it's great. I think there's a lot more work that needs to be done, but I mean, the fact that we have these leagues popping up that are establishing Canadian talent, I think it's important. We need that for our country, especially.
Yeah, looking at the article that sort of outlined the plans for the League One Electric City FC side, the thing that struck me as the most interesting was that you guys were planning on making it an event as opposed to just a soccer game. That's what I read, and you were getting into partnerships with local breweries and local Peterborough entertainment companies, and your plan for the stadium would include beer gardens and stuff like that. Can you speak a little bit about what will make Electric City FC such a unique club in the League One landscape?
Yes, so to tap into that, Keaton Robbins as well as Neil Morton, co-founder of Studio PTBO in Peterborough, as well as Richard Wood that owns Bob Cajun Brewery. All of us kind of joined forces, and we felt that this potentially, it's a lifestyle movement for Peterborough. I think with the soccer venue, as you guys know, with TFC and BMO, and the energy it generates within the city, internally and externally, is incredible. So utilizing this, this team, this League One team, to establish a lifestyle movement, energy, pre and post game, tailgating, beer gardens, it's almost like a venue that generates people within the inner city to kind of gravitate toward up north. I think, as you guys may know, price point wise with real estate, a lot of younger generations are priced out of the market. So given the fact that, with this pandemic, there's other potential opportunities to reside remotely and still maintain some sort of work. And I think with Peterborough, it's in close proximity to the GTA. They're extending the 407, going to and from the city. So it makes that commute time a little bit easier to get, to and from up, northeast. So, and I think Peterborough doesn't have any competition. You have, the likes of the Peterborough Pete's OHL team, and that's pretty much it. Other than that, I think they need something like this to, resonate the talent, not only like within Peterborough, but, the neighboring cities and towns. So
I'm pretty sure Peterborough has an Arby's, does it, Mitch? That's a good
Not
selling
sure.
point for me.
but yeah, so that's like, I think with, us joining forces along with, Gregory Couch, Josh Gillum, these guys had purchased, property on Chemung Road there, 74 acres, with the intentions of establishing a performance center. And I think that would be great, to not only like lure players in to utilize their facilities, but also help them progress in the sport. And then, I think it would be in the interim, we would maybe potentially use Trent University, beautiful facility, beautiful campus, state-of-the-art, workout facilities that the players can utilize, as well as the housing complexes. So we're trying to establish something that's, well advanced, more advanced, particular, or, the League One teams that are currently playing in League One. So we're trying to compete at a larger spectrum with the intentions of potentially starting a CPL team. But yeah, so.
Great. No, it sounds like you guys have a lot of groundwork there, getting that team going. Best of luck to you with everything going on there. But what I want to talk was, why is it so important to you to, set up this sort of foundation for Canadian soccer? Can you kind of talk about your kind of coming up in Canada soccer? What was it like to make it as a professional? What were your paths there? And, how much has that changed in the last little bit?
Yeah, so just to be specific, I was born in the 1980s. Right? So sounds kind of old, but at the same time, during that time, our main training facilities were the Lamport. Was, if you guys are familiar with Lamport Stadium,
Oh, yeah.
It's in the heart of the city, but during the winter time, there was no bubbles, there was no indoor complexes other than Richmond Green.
Hey, shout out Richmond Hill.
So, like I said, there was teams. It was very difficult to find facilities that can utilize, especially given the Canadian seasonal weather. 6-7 months out of the year, it's significantly cold. You can't be playing outside, but we happened to do that, which was nice. It builds your character and so forth. But now, I thought that in my generation, there was a number of players that were extremely good. That decided not to pursue soccer, and it was unfortunate, because I think if we had what we have at present time, with all the teams, the likes of Toronto FC, Vancouver Whitecaps, Montreal Impact, along with the CPL teams, I think there would be a larger scale of players that are still working within the game, helping grow the sport, especially at the grassroots, and helping develop Canadian talent. And I think that's what we need as a whole. The likes of Alfonso Davies doing extremely well, putting Canada on the map by winning Champions League. That's so amazing. It's it helps kids, inspire kids to pursue their dreams, and now they have platforms to do that.
Absolutely. I was just telling these guys before, you said 1980s. I'm born in 1994, so not that much later. I'm 26, and if there was still something like the Canadian Premier League around, if there was something like League One Ontario that was as structured as it is now, if there was that sort of up and bring path for Canadian soccer to make it within Canada, I honestly believe I would still be playing. But, due to that, and this is just 7-8 years ago, I decided, not to pursue it, just because it would have been such a big risk almost as a young 17, 18-year-old. So I just think it's grown so much within the past 10 years even. It's great to see you kind of put on for Peterborough here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So go ahead, Jeff. Sorry.
Oh, nothing. I was just going to circle back, because when I was doing my research, I talked to Kristen Knowles, our friends at the Vocal Minority podcast, and I found out that you're a bit of a Renaissance man. You've done beach soccer, correct me if I'm wrong, beach soccer nationally for the Canadian national team. You've played indoor soccer, played outdoor soccer. You've sold real estate. You were a model, for some time. And I just want to talk about the soccer aspect. You're the first person I've talked to that's played all three permutations: indoor, outdoor, and beach. Do you have a favorite? And which do you have a least favorite?
You know what? I'm very fond of the game itself. Playing on the grass is something. 11v11's the best. Like, while you're playing there's nothing better than that with the atmosphere and so forth. But having said that, I've taken to like the arena game, the smaller confines of the boards and
Mm-hmm.
the shifting of players and like the penalties, the blue cards, and like that's also exciting. But beach soccer is like great workout. You're competing, a lot of shots, very exciting. And it's fast paced as well as high scoring. So, man, like I gravitate to anything that's circular. Goals.
Yeah.
You hit it.
I mean, I was lucky enough to catch you at Paramount Center for a Metro Stars game. And you were fantastic. It was a lot. Those games were a lot of fun. They really were.
Oh, it's awesome. And like I love the fact that we have so many like connections with the actual original game of soccer, with beach soccer, arena soccer. I think that there's so much talent out there that that can cater to specific players, not only just 11v11. There are certain players that are more well equipped to play the arena ball, and technically they're more sound, but conditioning wise they need that to sub out periodically to kind of help them out, right? And then with the beach soccer, likewise, like you've got players that are better with unstable surfaces, right, with the sand and the movements and playing in the air with volleys. So it's different dynamics of the game, but no matter how you look at it, it's so exciting to watch and play as well. So that's why it's like I said, I like kicking, I like moving, and with soccer it brings everything in. Team sports, you get the energies of the players around you, and like the people that come out to watch it. It's exciting. It's the adrenaline, and it's just it's a euphoric feeling when you don't necessarily have that on a regular basis. And I've playing for such a long time, it's like a drug in my body. Like it's something that I need. Like it's hard not to live without it. So if you find like different ways to incorporate that into the business and life, it makes life that much more interesting and fun. So, yeah.
What we're all doing here, man. We're all trying to right here for the beautiful game, man.
Yeah.
Adrian, have you gone back to BMO recently?
Pardon me, sorry.
Have you gone back to BMO Field recently?
I had. You know what? I was supposed to go back there on September 15th, 2019. It was for the alumni match. I was invited, and I was looking forward to doing that. But my little guy was born on that same day.
Oh, so congratulations!
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Little Bodie James Cann came out that evening. Otherwise, I'd be there and watching the Reds play. It's like recently, I think I've been there maybe a year and a half ago, and I caught a game there, and it was great. And it was, man, every time I walk into the stadium and feeling the atmosphere with the grandstands, how they expanded everything as well. It's second to none, and like the way the organization treats the players and just everything, man. Everything's done right. I think that's, in the back of my head when I want to establish like an organization or franchise or a team, trying to do it, not dealing with the same budget as them, but I mean, significantly less, and still establishing that professional atmosphere. I think that's something that I aim high to do, and that players, when they come in, they feel like, they're professional. And I think with BMO and it's incredible, man, what they've done over the course of years, and the amount of the fan base and the supporters, the supporter groups. It's incredible.
Yeah. Before we let you go here, Adrian, I did want to. You talked about this a little bit, but I did want to ask you about Alfonso Davies and just how important that is for young Canadian soccer players coming up to have a guy they can point to be like, that could be me. Not just capping out at the college level or Even MLS is a good level, but knowing that you can play at the highest stage and be from Canada, how important was that moment for the sport in this country?
I think that was like the tipping point of the iceberg. Now that, the likes of Alfonso Davies, made the pathway to win one of the most prestigious, trophies in the world, other than the World Cup. It's Canadian first ever player that, came out of Canada, going through the likes, born in Alberta and going through the program at Vancouver Whitecaps there and doing extremely well. I thought his path to getting there, they took the steps in order to do that. Like everything was done right with his progression and how they gave him, a little bit of minutes, then potentially gave him, significantly more minutes. And, by him playing in Bayern Munich, I think that was a good fit for him, especially with his development. To be quite frank with you, I think when I watch him play, he's one of the best players in the world to watch, I think. I know it might be a little biased coming from Canada, but even if, I'm not gonna, just watching him shift players and his dynamic, changing speed and going up and down the flanks. So I think at his age, he's got the potential to, becoming one of the best players in the world. He's already top 10, I think, by the age of 19. He shows a lot of confidence. And having said that, I think getting closer to the World Cup 2026, when, we're supposed to be hosting games here in Canada, there's going to be a lot more foreign investors that are looking to maybe potentially start, either, teams and scout players, because they know there's an underlying talent here in Canada that's not tapped into as of yet. So this is just going to broadcast our country that much more. And I think it helps out the grassroots, the players that are younger generations that have the demand and the willpower to get to that level. Now they can do that, given the likes of Alfonso Davies and other players that have played at, very high levels within the sport. So I think it's amazing.
Yeah, certainly exciting times for the sport in this country. Adrian, thanks again so much for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having you guys, and all the best, man.
Yeah,
cheers,
appreciate
man.
it. Yeah, very excited to see what they do up in Peterborough with Electric City Football Club. I think he's got some good plans there. The one thing I think that really stood out to me from this, or one of the things, was this idea that so many people dropped out of soccer so early and they didn't complete that kind of soccer life cycle. Like, not only did they not play for, local teams or play for their country, but then they didn't go on to invest in coaching and that next step, right? And that's why what's happening right now is so important, that we're going to see guys have an opportunity to do stuff after their playing days in Canada as well, and just feed even more into the Canadian soccer landscape. That really stood out to me.
Yeah, absolutely a pathway. But I mean, I'm also excited for just bringing it back to TFC. I'm excited for former internationals like a certain Victor Vasquez to come back and get onto the coaching side. And I do think that that's the next step in the evolution. I'm still sore that Benoit Cheyrou isn't part of the organization still, because I have a massive amount of time for Benoit Cheyrou. I'd love to know what Michael thinks, but
yeah, no, I think Michael had to head out and one, but I think that's a great point. And we've already seen, we have Stephen Caldwell, who came over because he was a Toronto FC player, now on the bench with the Canadian men's national team. So we're already seeing some of the
Am I the only person here now?
This country. Did I cut out a little bit there?
Yeah, a little bit. I was I was freaking out because maybe I had to end the show myself, which I haven't done.
Okay.
Never
we're
been
just dropping like flies here on Waking Red Weekly.
What
so
do I do? Hey,
probably,
magic? Juggling?
Yeah, probably to wrap it up.
Yeah,
we get left with Jeff's thoughts on his own.
You don't
but
want
at
that.
any rate, thanks again to Adrian Cann for joining us. And thanks again to Sophia and Kevin, as always, from Footy Talks, for all their work on the show. And thanks, of course, to all of you for watching and listening. See you next Tuesday.